You've just pulled off a massive win at work, or, maybe you've navigated this high-stakes crisis flawlessly. You finally walk through the front door, and your partner looks at you.
Right, they see you.
Yeah, they see the exhaustion in your eyes, and they ask, "Are you okay? Like, how are you really feeling?" And instead of exhaling and leaning into that warmth, you just freeze.
Oh, completely.
You offer a status update, a
Hmm.
schedule, a list of tomorrow's action items. They just want to connect.
Yeah.
And a part of you desperately wants to let them in, but, I mean, dropping the armor just feels inexplicably terrifying. You want to be close, but being capable just feels so much safer.
It's a moment that holds two entirely honest meanings at the exact same time, you know?
Uh,
It looks like you are shutting your partner out, but internally, you are just trying to survive the intense pressure of being vulnerable.
yeah, exactly.
You're managing all this incredible complexity out in the world, yet a simple, caring question about your feelings triggers a massive internal alarm system.
And that tension right there is what we are looking at. It's a pattern of hyper-independence and basically the high achiever's isolation.
Right, and it's a dynamic that leaves so many people feeling alienated from the people they love the most, honestly, precisely because it is so easily misunderstood.
Because if you look at this purely from the perspective of the relationship, it just feels like frustrating emotional unavailability.
Yeah.
It's like it's the dynamic of a partner trying to connect with a literal brick wall.
Yeah, it is.
It leaves both people feeling incredibly lonely in a crowded room with
Yeah.
one person begging for intimacy and the other seemingly just, refusing to give it.
But if we look at the actual mechanics of human survival, a very different picture emerges. I mean, this isn't a personality flaw. It isn't a deliberate withholding of love. It is a brilliant, necessary psychological adaptation. It's a protective mechanism built to survive environments that demanded absolute perfection and relentlessly penalize like any display of vulnerability.
If you like sitting with questions that don't resolve easily, you're in the right place. To really understand this tension, our mission for this deep dive is to map out exactly why our competence so often ends up isolating us.
And we have a really fascinating stack of sources to help us do that today.
We do, ranging from recent corporate data on executive burnout to psychological models of shame, sociological research on marginalized leadership schemas, and even some classic Lacanian psychoanalysis.
To start making sense of those sources, I think we need to look at how high achievers organize their internal world. Imagine your emotional life as a building. High achievers live almost exclusively in the penthouse.
A penthouse, okay.
Yeah, it's clean up there, it's controlled, it is strategic, and it
Hmm.
is deeply rational. It's where you analyze data, where you plan your week, where you solve complex problems. Most importantly, it is a very safe place to be.
So in the penthouse, you have the spreadsheet. You have the deliverables, the metrics, the quarterly projections. You are entirely in control of all the variables.
Exactly. But vulnerability, that lives down in the basement.
Oh boy.
Right. The basement is dark. It's messy, disorganized, it lacks clear metrics, it holds all the raw fears, the quiet fear of not being enough, the internalized shame, the unresolved trauma from the past.
Yeah, nobody wants to go down there.
No. So when intimacy demands a trip to the basement, when a partner simply says, "Hey, tell me how you feel," the high achiever's nervous system just panics.
Because going to the basement means surrendering the control of the penthouse.
It's a physiological misinterpretation of safety. The high achiever's brain treats a partner asking for emotional intimacy like a literal fire alarm going off.
Wow, so it's that extreme.
It is. The amygdala, which is our brain's threat detector, it cannot tell the difference between my partner wants to connect with my sadness and the building is currently burning down.
Right.
So the nervous system just tries to extinguish the flames with the only tool it trusts, which is cold, hard logic. When that panic hits, they rely on deeply ingrained survival strategies.
And the psychologist Donald Nathanson actually mapped out how this works with his concept of the compass of shame.
Yes, he did.
So when we feel that sudden interruption of positive emotion, that sudden spike of inadequacy or fear, we don't just sit there. The nervous system deploys defenses.
One immediate defense is withdrawal. Like the high achiever might physically leave the room, go silent, or suddenly become very, very interested in their phone screen.
Right, just checking emails suddenly.
Exactly. And if withdrawal doesn't work, they might turn inward and attack themselves, taking on this extreme, punishing responsibility to avoid sitting with the actual pain.
Or they avoid it entirely through overwork, which is fascinating because it is a highly socially acceptable form of avoidance. Society actually rewards you for this defense mechanism.
It absolutely does. You get promoted for it. And if none of those work, the defense shifts outward to projecting blame.
So the attack shifts.
Right. The internal narrative becomes, if you weren't so demanding, if you weren't so emotional, I wouldn't be failing at this conversation right now.
Clinically, I mean, that makes total sense. But if I'm the partner on the other side of the couch, that protective mechanism just feels like I'm trying to hug a Swiss Army knife.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You know,
Yeah.
you're incredibly useful. You can fix any logistical problem in my life, but someone is going to get cut if they try to hold you. We have to look at the relational collateral damage here.
It is a very visceral reality for the partners involved. It leads directly to what couples therapists call the waltz of pain.
The waltz of pain,
Right.
right, where the anxious partner pursues emotional connection. They're crying. They're stressed about their day. They just want to be felt and understood.
Yes.
But the high achiever hears that emotional bid strictly as an operational problem to solve. They retreat into that cold logic and basically end up treating their romantic partner like an employee or a project plan.
Which is so painful.
Yeah, it's like, let's optimize our communication workflow. Let's schedule a dedicated feelings check-in for Thursday at 7 p.m. They genuinely believe they are helping, but it leaves the partner feeling just utterly abandoned.
Because that is the exact moment the protector parts have hijacked the steering wheel. These are neural pathways and strategies forged in childhood to guard that vulnerable core.
Like which parts?
Well, think about the fixer, right? A protector part that instantly converts messy, unpredictable emotions into actionable tasks just to lower cortisol. Or the controller, who attempts to manage every variable in the environment to prevent any sudden emotional unpredictability.
And then there's the performer, who is always on, incredibly charming, and fundamentally just refuses to crack under pressure.
Exactly. And these parts aren't the enemy. They were constructed to guard the basement. They are doing exactly what they were hired to do.
What's really fascinating in our sources today is how these same patterns of emotional exile don't just stay in the living room. They completely dictate our professional lives and the systemic social roles we play.
Absolutely.
I mean, does this armor look different depending on who is wearing it in the corporate world or how high up the ladder they are?
The research suggests it absolutely does. If we scale this internal compass up to the executive level, the sheer isolation becomes staggering. Recent 2024 surveys show that 55% of CEOs report experiencing significant mental health issues.
Wait, 55%. Over half.
Over half, including anxiety, depression, and severe burnout. The very hierarchy of leadership inherently breeds this isolation. The higher you climb, the fewer peers you have.
That makes sense.
And the external expectations become monumental, right? Honest feedback gets replaced by sycophancy. You're tasked with making unpopular decisions, and the space to openly discuss your own limitations simply vanishes.
And the research highlights that systemic realities enforce this armor even more rigidly for marginalized groups. Like if we look at the studies on the strong Black woman or SPW schema, we see these survival mechanisms operating under intense compounding pressures.
Yeah, the literature frames this as a direct survival mechanism responding to systemic realities. The sociologists point out that Black women in leadership face a double marginalization of both race and gender. They carry the profound burden of often being the only one in their corporate spaces.
The schema essentially demands that they suppress their own emotions, maintain absolute composure at all times, and sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of their cultural legacy.
Which is a massive weight to carry.
It is. The researchers highlight there's this immense structural pressure to use personal pain to help others and pave the way for the next generation. But internalizing all of that, masking true feelings to avoid being mischaracterized or penalized by colleagues, the data shows it leads to profound physical and mental distress.
Yes, the research makes it clear that for these leaders, dropping the armor and showing vulnerability hasn't historically been safe. It's an armor forged in the fires of systemic oppression.
Which brings us to a crucial question about the origins of this architecture. Where does this deep-seated belief that we must be flawless to be safe actually come from? Like, does this always start with overly critical parents?
Not always. I mean, anxious rearing, where parents are hyper-focused on every mistake, teaching the child to adopt a hyper-vigilant perfectionism, that is one pathway. But the psychological models highlight a couple of other distinct origins.
Okay, What are the others?
Sometimes it's about the social expectations model. That's where a child learns very early on that love and approval are entirely conditional. You're loved when you bring home the A plus or when you win the game, but you are ignored or criticized when you are just average.
So your worth becomes intrinsically tied to your output.
Yes, completely. And another pathway is the social reaction model. In this scenario, perfectionism is developed as a desperate escape mechanism from a harsh, chaotic, or even abusive environment.
Right.
The child's internal logic dictates, if I am perfect, if I control every variable, I can control the chaos of this household.
Wow. So synthesizing all of that, it creates a profound fear of intimacy. Because if you're raised to believe that you must be utterly flawless just to be loved, or even just to survive, then sharing your messy, imperfect feelings feels like guaranteeing your own rejection.
Exactly.
Why would you ever show someone the basement if you genuinely believe the basement makes you unlovable?
More people carry both sides of this than you'd think.
So we have this intense fear of the basement, and we have the penthouse that keeps us safe, successful, and employed. But how do we actually exist in this tension? Because we can't just force a tidy cure.
No, definitely not.
We can't just tell someone to stop using the coping mechanisms that literally kept them alive.
No. And attempting to strip away those defenses too quickly can be deeply re-traumatizing. To understand why it's so hard to let go of these mechanisms, we have to look at what we are actually avoiding down in that basement.
Right. What's actually down there?
Right. The psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan had a concept called das Ding, which translates to the thing or the vacuole. It represents a primordial emptiness inherent in the human condition.
Okay, so like a black hole in our emotional solar system.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It's a vacuum. Lacan argued that we spend our entire lives generating what he called signifiers to plug that gap. We create elaborate detours so we don't have to face the void.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. For the high achievers, we throw achievements, promotions, perfectly optimized schedules, wealth, and relentless control into that black hole. They are highly effective, socially rewarded ways to avoid ever facing the quiet, terrifying emptiness of dusting.
That is vital to understand because it means we have to completely remove the shame around being hyper-independent. The armor is not a flaw.
No, it's not.
That armor is what got you the degree, it's what got you the corner office, it's what ensured your survival when your environment was unstable. It is a brilliant adaptation.
Yeah.
But, and here's where the rubber meets. The road cognitive solutions cannot put out a limbic fire.
They cannot. They really can't.
You cannot fix a terrified nervous system with a spreadsheet for date nights. Your body is screaming that you are in danger, and you're trying to silence it with a calendar invite. So what does it actually look like to sit in the basement without immediately trying to fix the leak?
It looks like shifting your entire orientation from problem solving to presence. And practically, therapists often use the RV framework to help high achievers navigate this transition in real time.
RV like R-A-V-E.
Yes. First, recognize what is happening in your physical body. Notice the tight chest. Notice that your stomach just dropped. Recognize that your nervous system is treating your partner's emotional bid as a literal threat to your survival.
So just naming the physiological reality.
Yes, just starting there. Second, allow it to be there. Do not immediately try to fix it. Do not retreat into the penthouse to analyze it. And do not run away from it. Just let the discomfort exist.
That sounds incredibly hard.
It is. Third is validate. Validate that this biological reaction makes complete sense. Given your history, given the protector parts you had to build to survive, of course your body's reacting this way. Have some compassion for the armor.
And the E.
Express it to your partner. But here's the key. You have to express the vulnerability, not the logistical solution.
Can you give me an example of the difference? Like, what does that actually sound like?
It's a difference between the penthouse saying, let me check the calendar so we can schedule uninterrupted time together this weekend, and the basement saying, when you tell me I feel distant, it terrifies me because I'm so scared I'm losing you and I don't know how to fix it.
Wow. That is an entirely different language.
It is speaking from the basement instead of the penthouse. You aren't solving the problem. You are simply allowing your partner to stand in the dark with you.
If we pull back and connect this to the bigger picture, the stakes here are so much higher than just having better communication skills at home. This touches on our most fundamental human needs.
It does. The belongingness hypothesis in psychology asserts that human connection is not just a preference. It is a biological and psychological necessity for survival. We are wired at a cellular level to need meaningful interpersonal bonds.
And the macro level trend we're seeing right now makes this tension even more critical. The automation of the modern world, AI, digital platforms, algorithmic feeds, it's systematically stripping away organic human touch points.
Exactly. At the exact moment when technology is removing the human layer from our daily logistical experiences, genuine, unregulated human connection is becoming a premium, scarce resource.
We are starving for the very thing our protector parts are trained to block.
We really are.
So what does this all mean? It means this entire struggle isn't really about workaholism. It's not about being a CEO or being bad at communicating or just needing a better work-life balance.
Yeah.
It is about a primal childhood fear of unworthiness. It is the tragic paradox that the exact tools we meticulously forge to secure our place in the world, our competence, our hyper-independence, our relentless perfectionism, are the very things isolating us from the love and belonging we were trying to earn in the first place.
We spend our lives building an impenetrable fortress to keep ourselves safe, only to wake up one day and realize we've locked ourselves inside.
It does make you wonder, what happens to our society and the relationships within it if we continue to raise an entire generation that is heavily rewarded for building the penthouse, but entirely unequipped to sit in the basement? If this conversation felt true for you, both sides of it, you're always welcome here. You can subscribe to Leone Patterns and keep sitting with us.
As we close today, it's important to just hold both of these realities gently. On one side, there is the frustrating, isolating distance that emotional unavailability creates in a relationship. It is the deep loneliness of reaching out to someone you love, asking to be seen, and finding a wall of logic instead of a human heart.
And held carefully alongside that is the profound, brilliant protection of the armor. The survival mechanisms that kept you safe, that made you successful, and that allowed you to navigate a demanding, sometimes punishing world. Neither side wins today. Both are true.
Yeah.
It takes an incredible amount of courage to finally lay down that heavy shield of competence, even just for a moment, and trust that someone else will help you carry the weight.
True interdependence is a beautiful thing. It is the quiet realization that your ultimate worth is not measured by your output, your achievements, or your ability to fix things, but simply by your presence.
Same pace, same questions. See you then.